Hey you guys, I'm Brian Paul, and it's time for some more PlayStation VR breaking news. Over on the PlayStation Store, there are two overlapping sales going on right now. Games under $20 and Golden Week that both end on May 12th. So let's check out all 31 PSVR games that are on sale right now. There's no reason to own this deluxe version of Ace Combat 7 if you're just in it for the VR portion. That said, with 3 levels that are worth replaying over and over for hours to unlock everything, Ace Combat still delivers one of the most immersive and incredible PSVR experiences. Arc Park is admittedly way better now than it was at launch, but it's still a wave shooter that's disguised as something more, and neither the wave shooting or the exploration, crafting, hatching, or dinosaur rides are any fun at all. Bound is a simply stunning third-person platformer, the gameplay and story wear thin after about an hour or so, but if you just want to experience something beautiful, you could do a lot worse than Bound. Brain Beats desperately wants to be Beat Saber, but the block mapping is randomly generated with no interesting sequences, the music is boring, and there's really no reason for this game to exist at all. I don't think I've ever been as bored on a roller coaster, virtual or otherwise, than I was on Coaster. There's only a few roller coasters here, and none of them are worth riding. Try Rush of Blood or Roller Coaster Legends 2 instead. Having loved the first 2 Disaster Report games on PS2, I couldn't wait to play Summer Memories, but unfortunately the campaign is non-VR only, and the game design feels as old as the originals. Plus the unlockable VR areas, which you have to play through the flat screen game to unlock, are barren and don't even allow for full locomotion, offering up only a modified version of the Blood and Truth style of movement. It's funny, Don't Knock Twice is pretty low budget and buggy, but after being severely disappointed with Layers of Fear's overall presentation on PSVR, Don't Knock Twice suddenly seems like a great alternative. There are some good scares here, and at $12, it's fun enough. Endspace is a super bare-bones mission-based space shooter, but the gameplay and graphics are both really impressive. Just don't expect any frills like launch or landing sequences, cutscenes, or literally anything to do between missions. If Fruit Ninja on PSVR had the number of options and unlockables as the beta version, I'd be all over this. But the 3 simple game modes wear out their welcome fast, and despite great physics and fruit slicing mechanics, Fruit Ninja VR simply isn't a game that hooked me like the mobile versions did. Not getting the full Gran Turismo campaign into VR was a huge missed opportunity, but at the sale price of $15, there's so much content here that any car enthusiast with a PSVR headset will get their money's worth many, many times over. The thing about Gun Club VR that hooked me is that you're constantly unlocking new game modes, new areas, and gaining cash to buy new weapons. Sure, it's a wave shooter, and one that throws cardboard cutouts at you instead of actual enemies, but it's a good one. Despite being a launch title, Here They Lie oozes quality, and is one of the most twisted horror games I've ever played. Despite a bit of blur, the environments are stunning, and the tension keeps you on your toes pretty much from beginning to end. Highly, highly recommended. At the full $20 price tag, I had a few reservations about recommending Intruders Hide and Seek, mostly because the character models are really rough and the writing and voice acting might not have had the best English translation ever. But for $2, Intruders is a blast and the story just gets better and better as you go. The Mega Dimension Neptunia games don't really do it for me, so excuse me for opting out of this particular review. That said, if you're looking for a full-length VR RPG, Mega Dimension Neptunia isn't it. The only VR mode here is a dressing room mode, and the full game is flat screen only. There's a whole bunch of games that are meant for meditation and relaxation, I get that, but with Mind Labyrinth VR, there's no game, so I'd rather just pick up Skyrim VR when it's on sale, and sit at an in-game bar or hang out by a river and relax there. Then when I get bored, there's still a 300-hour campaign filled with side quests waiting for me. There's an epic old-school dungeon crawler hiding behind Operencia's blurry graphics and poorly scaled world, but if you can get past that, or God forbid you play the game in the included non-VR mode, there's a lot here to like, and for just $15, you'll definitely get your money's worth. The only thing I didn't like about Paranormal Activity at launch was the $35 price tag. It's got amazing visuals, fantastic scares, and sound design that'll make sure you never get too comfortable in this haunted house. For just $6, this might be the best value in the entire sale. The fact that Project Deluxe ever retailed for more than $5 is shocking. The entire game basically plays out in one room, lasts less than an hour, and the stilted dialogue and pointless interactions keep Lux from being fun even for the most hardcore digital novel fans. The environments in Robinson the Journey are some of the best PS4 Pro has ever seen. Unfortunately, it's not even playable on PS5, and it's essentially a dinosaur collectathon. But I had a blast with it, and for $9, there's an unforgettable adventure here that I'm really glad I experienced. 8-player wingsuit racing in VR should be a no-brainer, and Rush VR is exactly that. Your boost meter fills up Burnout style, so flying dangerously close to the ground and cliff walls is essential and adds to the intensity of the race. Plus, when you add to that a ton of free post-launch DLC, Rush VR is one of our favorite PSVR multiplayer games out there. Exploring the world of Shadow Legend and finding all the hidden runes is super addictive, and it helps that the climbing, archery, and immersion are top-notch. That said, the world is broken up into small areas with long loading screens, and the sword fighting hasn't aged particularly well since Golem and Until You Fall came out, but for $14, it's a great 4-hour game. Even for $5, Sharknado is pretty bad. Sure, it's got sharks and tornadoes and a bunch of weapons, but somehow the gameplay is still boring and repetitive, and feels like a cheap mobile game. Star Wars Squadrons is hands down one of the coolest things that happened to PSVR over the last year. The multiplayer modes are a blast, the single-player campaign is fun and tells a good story, and on the PS5, the game looks even better than the somewhat blurry PS4 and Pro versions. I've played and beaten Surgeon Sim VR about 3 times now over the last 5 years for various shows and reviews on Without Parole, and it's simply not much fun at all, especially compared to the goofy and over-the-top flat-screen versions. Oh, and the Alien Autopsy level was stripped out of the PSVR game before launch, and was never patched back in. Time Carnage throws you into a bunch of different environments with different enemies, but nothing here made it feel like anything more than a generic wave shooter. Especially the shield that pops up in front of you when enemies get too close, essentially killing any immersion the game might have had. I know I'm the outlier here, but Tokyo Chronos shouldn't have been a VR game. Sitting in VR with practically zero interactivity, reading English subtitles while listening to a Japanese audio track for 15 hours simply isn't fun. This kind of digital novel works great on a handheld like the Vita or the Switch. So if you're even considering this one, you should pick up Alt Deus Beyond Chronos instead. It's the same team and a much better use of VR storytelling. As the only open-world flight game on PSVR, Ultra Wings didn't exactly wow anyone with great graphics. Luckily, controlling each of the 4 planes is a lot of fun, as is exploring the world, discovering new locations, and playing through all the different missions. For $7 or $8, this is a great deal. Playing through all 3 chapters of Vader Immortal puts you in the leading role of a Star Wars movie, lightsabers and force powers included. There's still some wonkiness with the controls and audio that ILM XLab doesn't seem to be concerned with patching, but the hours you'll spend in the lightsaber training dojos will certainly make up for that. 1v1 spellcasting battle sounds great on paper, but when it's implemented with node-to-node teleportation, the fun factor diminishes significantly. Despite trying to get into this one for hours, I never ended up caring, and never wanted to go back. There's a lot of good stuff happening in Cyberpilot. The narrative is enjoyable, the environments are great, and the 3 drones you pilot add some diversity to the mix. But the overall game just isn't all that much fun, which makes the incredibly short 90-minute campaign somewhat of a blessing in disguise. The Second Runner was a classic on PlayStation 2, and bringing it into VR with first-person controls and slightly enhanced 2D cutscenes was exactly what we've been asking more developers to do with their old games. If you're into anime or just like flying around in a big awesome mech, you might want to give this one a shot. Alright you guys, it's all the breaking news I have for you today, but make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with all the latest PlayStation VR reviews, Let's Plays, podcasts, and of course breaking news. As always, I'm Brian Paul, and I love you all.